Hey everybody, it's Digi and May doing a Let's
Whoa,
Play.
did you just say May?
Yeah, that's right. May is
Oh
back.
my god. Who is
After
that again?
that's what they call your name's You went right for that. Oh, that's hilarious.
Alright.
This is Pokemon Colosseum. Ooh. Oh.
That's Skarmory's shiny booty.
I immediately understand what they were going for with this game, which is like serious fucking game with Pokemon.
Yeah, this is like the edgy Pokemon. It's not just you're a 10-year-old out on your first adventure. It's you are a fucking...
Look at that fucking smile, dude.
You are a delinquent, you are a degenerate, you have an Umbreon.
You got huge boots. So I never played this game, ever. And you must have played it as a kid because you...
Yeah, I had it pre-ordered. When you pre-ordered it, you got a disc that would have Jirachi on it, and you could like just farm a bunch of Jirachi. Was it Jirachi or was it Mew? It was Mew. It was definitely Mew instead of Jirachi. No, I don't know, but I had a fuck ton of Mew, so I think it was Mew. But anyways, if you pre-ordered the game, you would get like a special disc, and you can just farm either one, and it was cool.
That's fucking crazy.
I played most of this game, but I just gave up because it's not great.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Cause like when this game came out, this was at, like probably a year after Ruby and Sapphire, and
I'm moving on my own. I thought that was.
Oh, okay. It doesn't seem like it's continuing. If that keeps happening, let me know. We might have to change some settings or something. But we sure pigged out, huh? Anyway, this game, it was like, I had played, I was a huge Pokemon addict until Ruby and Sapphire, and at the time that those came out, I was like getting into anime in a big way, and it was kind of like anime was the center of my universe more so than Pokemon as like a whole, you know? There was like, I wasn't that into Ruby and Sapphire, and then this came out, and for me as a child, all I was ever waiting for was full 3D Pokemon adventure. Like, I had an expectation that was coming.
Oh yeah, I thought this was gonna be like Pokemon Go, but like more. Like all of my dreams come true. I thought you would get
Pokemon
to like
Go? You thought this would be like Pokemon
Yeah.
Go?
Yeah.
Pokemon Go.
Not so much as you would be walking, but like you would be able to catch things and it'd feel like real. But,
I expected, all I really wanted was for them to make just the same thing as the Game Boy Color game, but in 3D on a console. Like, I never understood how that... I still don't really understand how that
this
hasn't become the
controller
case.
Sucks dick. What the fuck? I'm just gonna use the D-pad. Oh, the D-pad is not the way to go either.
Should I fucking fuck with the settings or something? Like, is it unplayable? What's the problem exactly?
I cannot go. I can't leave.
Are you not able to go down?
Yeah.
Alright, hold on. Let me see if I can fix this problem.
Oh no, I'm stuck.
Oh, you know what it is? It's that you have to press right and left to move here, as opposed to up and down. I don't even think that's a problem with the emulator. I think that might just be a problem with the game. I mean, his weird drifting, I'm not sure about.
I sure as hell could leave buildings when I was playing this. Like,
you just gotta press right and left instead of up and down.
Yeah, but you can't get out.
What do you mean?
You can't get out. You have to get out of here.
Like, you just... Huh. This is bizarre. Alright, hold on. If I hold... I'm not... It's like down doesn't exist. But like slightly down does. Okay, hold on.
We should just switch to the PS4 controller.
Wait, I got it. You just had to... It's like... It's like somehow it thought that like down and to the side is down and the other way was up. Like it was the controls were like an isometric game, basically. You know what an isometric game is?
Yeah.
So anyways, hopefully it'll work. Hopefully that was just a one-time offense, or that you could get used to it, because I don't know if the PS3 controller will work.
Well, that sure was fine.
So, anyway,
Leave a
oh, are you
sour
both
taste in
using
my
Zig?
mouth.
Oh,
No,
he's just got
that's
two
him.
Zig.
He just is a plebe.
I see. So, yeah, like, I just have never quite understood how it's possible that there hasn't just been a console game that just is Pokemon. Like, that just is Pokemon Red, you know? Like...
Oh, yeah, that was always, like, why wouldn't they do that? It'd just be free money, because everybody would want it to have the 3D graphics, and all the Pokemon have 3D models from Stadium, like, it wouldn't be that hard.
My theory is that they just can't find a way to justify making two, you know? Because, like, the whole conceit of Pokemon is that they make two, and then you have to trade between the two games, and that different people have different ones and all that. And that it's like a social game. So, like, the idea of you have to meet up with people and, like, trade Pokemon was a huge part of it. Now, let me tell you that the worst element of Pokemon for me growing up was the social element. Let me tell you what happened when I tried to socialize with people. Oh yeah, trade me your fucking guy and we'll like disable the link cables at this moment, it'll cause it to be cloned. Oh, it didn't work and I have your Pokemon? Well, I'm not trading it back.
That's a dick move.
What am I gonna do? You're twice my size. How do I get my Pokemon back from you? I guess I just don't have my Pokemon anymore.
It is not like an isometric game, though.
Try holding down and right. See? Down and right is down.
Yeah, but how do you go the other way?
Like that. You just gotta hold down and right instead of down. It makes perfect sense.
It doesn't.
I don't know what the problem is. I can plug in a PS3 controller to try to fix it, but then I'm just trying to avoid having to edit this video. But I'm gonna have to edit it one way or another, I guess.
Anyways,
yeah.
Because we just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'll fix it after this cutscene.
I mean, we
or
could
right
just
now.
Restart.
Okay, we swapped out to Tom's Xbox 360 controller.
Hallelujah for Tom.
Well, we can, let's not speak too soon because unfortunately we didn't have any free roaming segment to test on.
Yeah, because we were like in some dialogue and it immediately hopped us to a battle. So
yeah,
we're just gonna pray that it works.
So anyways, like, yeah, it was already frustrating for me when Pokemon Stadium came out because I expected that to be like an N64 Pokemon game. Like,
I mean, I love Pokemon Stadium. I was just so
too.
enthralled to see the characters like in 3D and to like have the option to port your guys.
Now, what was
dope.
best about it for me and Victor was that it was a 2-player game. Like, I never really got very far trying to play the single player of Pokemon Stadium because I, as a kid, didn't really know jack shit about the actual, like, mechanics of Pokemon. Because my strategy had always been to just over-level my starter and destroy everything. So, like, I didn't spend much time learning how the game really works, and so when put in battles where, like, everyone's the same level, I would just get fucking destroyed. And, like, so I never...
To be fair, that game is hard as shit. Like,
Yeah.
once you beat the first round and you go into the second round of, like, it's just the same game over again, but there's more strategy and
Right.
everybody's using better Pokemon. It's like, if you're not porting your own team and you don't have, like, a specific strategy, there's some cups that are impossible.
That's fucking
but-
nuts.
I fucking...
Is that just auto-walking you to the left?
Yeah.
You had so much faith in Tom's controller. You were
I
just
still
like,
think it's gonna be better than your controller.
Yeah?
'Cause, yeah, it's Tom's.
let's see what happens when you try to go down. It's literally the same controller. Like, why would Tom's just be better than
I don't know.
mine?
Maybe yours is like just sticky.
You just trust his tech.
I just feel like he would take better care of
his looks dirty
things.
though. Look at it.
You're right.
It doesn't even look clean.
There's a stray hair on it.
He pulled it out of his fucking travel bag. Like,
I spoke too soon.
yeah, I don't know why.
There's literally a stray hair.
I don't know where
on
you
here.
have such faith in Tom to
I
take
don't know.
care
I
of
just
his
think
stuff.
that Tom is like,
Tom just replaces things when he breaks them. I just assume everything is too expensive, and so I break it and then cry forever. And he just breaks it and is like, oh, it doesn't. Oh my God, it's Trump and Hillary. This is you are
it's
a
with
genius.
one L, right?
It doesn't matter. I think it might be 2 L's.
I think you're right. I have enough room for another L, but I'm really bad at spelling. Like, abysmal.
So,
yeah, it is 2 L's.
we should probably address the fact that we are doing this video here on the Digibro After Dark channel. Because this is, I think, unprecedented. There's never been a Let's Play on this channel since, like, well, there was, like, back in 2014 before, but it was never, like, a Let's Play show. And the reason for this is that when you and I first started living together, I was like, hey, I do a Let's Play show with my brother Victor, and mostly because of the convenience of he lives nearby and is somebody who knows what I'm talking about, so it's nice for us to have a show together. And, well, lives with me, I should say, at the time, when we started the show. But he had moved away and it had become really difficult. Like, we would have to, meet up to do this show and, like, have things to talk about. And all he ever had to talk about was work. Can you go down?
No.
Can you go down if you press right and down? Is it even worse than before?
You just have to go, if you go in an arc and go up and then down. Well, I lied. I spoke. There you go. You can finagle. You can figure it out.
Are you okay with it, or do you want me to go download a whole bunch of bullshit to try to make a PS3 controller work?
I have no idea, man. Let's just try it out. Let's just see.
Yeah, let's see how it goes. All right.
It's gonna involve a lot of cursing.
So,
oh boy, I have everything.
So I had this Let's Play show with Victor called Digi Bros, and then it just made sense that if you were willing to do them with me, then we would do it together for the same reasons. You live with me, you know what's going on.
It was honestly a good way for us
chemistry.
to get to know each other.
Yeah, that was a big part of it too. I mean, for me, like, it's a lot easier to have conversations with people if there's a recording for it, because it literally just forces you to have a conversation. I mean, that's kind of the theory behind the whole PCP in the first place, is that it's an excuse to talk to our friends, and that's why we all like the formless cast style so much. Is this just you trying to go down? Is that all that's happening
like
right
that.
now?
I was trying to, like, see if there's any chests over here.
Would there be, like, a...
There's chests in this game.
But, like hidden like this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know there's one, like, it's maybe on the left side, but I know there's one over here, but I cannot...
This is miserable to watch.
Boy.
Alright, you want me to go hook up...
Wait, if I just hold it lightly, if I hold down lightly, I can go down.
Okay.
So I think
it's like a pressure problem.
Yeah. I think if I just...
It might just be because we're playing this on an emulator, if you can't tell, with an Xbox 360 controller.
It's over here.
Simulating a GameCube controller, so maybe there's just, like, different levels of tension. Who the fuck knows? But yeah, like you said, it's a good way to talk to people who you want to talk to, and so we were doing that for a while, and it became this weird show where, like, we had our show, and then Victor teamed up with his fiance Hope to do their own show, and so it became the Vic and Hope show and the Digi and May show, and they would, like, respond to each other and stuff like that. But then
it was fun. We had, like,
yeah,
I felt like there was some kind of collaborative element, even though we were miles and miles apart.
I love doing Let's Play shows. Like, for me, it's the best way to have conversations, because when you're doing a podcast, you feel like you need to keep to some kind of topic, With the Let's Play, it's always just kind of a free-form podcast. And moreover, even if you can't be 100% interesting all the time, there's game footage. And even still, it gives you something to talk about. Like, if you don't have something that you're thinking about, you can just discuss what's happening in the game, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's just a really good way to make a piece of content that is about having a conversation. And I love doing them. But, and they were doing fairly well. People seemed to enjoy it.
Yeah. They were lit.
And we also had content that you and I would do on the After Dark channel, because like our chemistry was popular on the Digi Bros channel, so we carried it over. And there were people who really enjoyed it, some people who really didn't, people who would whine and bitch about like, oh, you got your girlfriend in your videos, you complain when Jeff does it, why do you do it? And I'm like, because me and her are actually doing it as like a thing. It's not just me throwing you into my videos. We're like doing a thing. It's a type of content based on the idea that we're doing it together. Just like any other collaboration I do with anybody. And believe me, I am not a fan of any forced collaboration. Like, me and the PCP guys, we used to constantly make fun of what we called the that guy with the glasses collaboration style.
Oh dear.
Do you know much about that guy with the glasses?
Only what you've told me.
So it used to be, well, you know who the Nostalgia Critic is.
I know who the Nostalgia Critic is.
Nostalgia Critic mostly made it big on the back of the fact that, like, early into his career, Angry Video Game Nerd was a really popular creator. And both of them had this, like, personality that they were, like, angry, caustic critics. But, like, AVGN is, like, a semi-legitimate filmmaker who, like, really poured over his work in his videos, and they were fucking great. Nostalgia Critic is just a guy who would get angry and, like, yell into a webcam about movies. And he sucked. But the people largely couldn't tell the difference, you know? They're both doing just angry guy on the internet complains about shit, and so they would get compared to each other a lot. So they decided to team up and do some collaborative videos, and these were explosively popular, and they helped to launch Nostalgia Critic into the stratosphere. He starts up a website called That Guy with the Glasses, where all these people who basically just ripped him off and did exactly what he did, he created a platform where all of them could work together, and they would meet up and do these huge collaboration videos, which were really popular because people just like to see crossovers. Like, in any medium, people just like crossovers because it's like, wow, the thing I like is acknowledging the other thing I like.
Holy shit.
But, like, they had become such a genre on YouTube and amongst these kinds of people because it's so fucking easy to do. Like, any two people who have any modicum of popularity in these mediums are going to find out about each other. They're going to start talking. And it used to be that people would just force each other into videos all the time. And it was always like, what? What are you doing on my channel? Huh, you've been reviewing this movie all wrong. I'm gonna show you how to do it right. And then they'd have like a conversation between the two of them. They fucking suck. They're all corny and terrible, and I fucking hated them. So we used to make fun of that shit all the time. But then it became a question of like, well, we do want to collaborate, like me and the PCP guys. How do we do this without it being some forced fucking, you're in my video, whoa! And like me and Tom had done some collabs where like it was just straight up, we would just switch between us with no real explanation, you know, like, but even those, it was just like we were both writing an analysis video that happened to be in the same video, you know, and just like, it just made it so any point I would have made that Tom also made, I didn't have to make, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like we were just filling in the blanks in one another's points. But it didn't really feel like a collaboration. It just felt like two guys analyzing the same thing in the same video. So we stopped doing stuff like that. And sometimes we'd show up in each other's videos for like comedic reasons, me and the other guys. But like eventually we made the PCP so we would have a show where the conceit is that it is our show. It's not cameos. It's not, you know, it's just a show that involves multiple people. And so when I say, like, when I complain about, like, forcing someone into a video, like, forcing your girlfriend into a video, I'm talking about that bullshit of, like, what? What are you doing here, my girlfriend? You know, I'm here because...
My girlfriend.
Because usually the reason they do it is that they know that person is particularly interested in this subject, but the audience doesn't care. Like, now it'd be one thing if you are seriously, like, known for it. Like, let's say that you are, like, the world's biggest JoJo YouTuber, and I was making a video about JoJo, and I brought in that guy for some reason, then maybe I could see why. But, like, a lot of the time it would just be like, you're a fellow reviewer who happens to be a fan of this thing, and I know that, so I invited you. And the audience is just like, oh, I guess this guy must be a fan of that thing. Whatever, you know. Like, you know, context is what matters, as always.
Always.
But, like, I've seen too many times where it would be like, oh, my girlfriend demanded to be in this video because she loves this show. And it's like, this means nothing to the audience, you know?
When have you seen that?
I've definitely seen it before. This is not as common a practice anymore, so I feel like I can't think of, like, an example in recent memory, but it used to be that, like, YouTube was like half of it was fucking collabs for a while. Because that style would be so popular. And of course, whoever is the smaller person out of any collab is going to be really pushing for it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I did a shitload of that in the Brony days, because they would call it befriending. Like, oh, this guy befriends this guy. And
I think there was a time when, like, being in collabs and really, like, using that as a kind of branding mechanism could have been a way to be successful on YouTube, but I don't feel like the paradigm is the same anymore. I don't think that you can just, like, get big riding people's dicks like you used to. Because
of the fact that because there's so many people on there, it's more specialized. It's like, nowadays, people will say, well, why did you bring in this guy? I don't want to hear this guy.
Yeah.
You know, like, Needle Drop, he used to do a lot more collaborative reviews. He did one with me on Baby Metal.
Hell yeah.
And he still occasionally will, but, like, for the most part, like, if he collaborates with somebody, those are the videos I skip most of the time, because it's like, this isn't a Needle Drop video. Like, I watch his videos so I can just hear his voice droning for 8 minutes while I'm waking up in the morning, and then I could just go click on the album review. Like, when he would do collaborations, they would usually be like 25 minutes long and fucking, like, totally, like, they'd be unedited because it's just like a conversation, and then you realize how bad he is at speaking unscripted compared to, I mean, he's always unscripted, but he edits the shit out of his vlogs, and, you know, he usually works from some kind of, like, notes. This girl looks just like Misty, and it keeps freaking me out.
Oh yeah, it's definitely just Misty with pigtails.
She's an XP for Misty. You know that word XP? You've read a bunch of TV tropes, haven't you? Are you one of those people?
I've read enough.
Yeah.
Where the fuck are the Pokeballs?
Can you actually catch Pokemon in this game?
You catch shadow Pokemon.
Uh-huh. Do you then turn them into regular ones, or what?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
I don't think it was this game. I think it was the next game where there's like spots where you catch Pokemon.
I see. Yeah, I was like, when this game came out, like, I had heard that you just, like, have it's just an RPG with Pokemon, and you just have the Pokemon that you have, and you don't catch them, and I was like, that is totally antithetical to the purpose of Pokemon, so I have no desire to play it at all. Anyways, so yeah, like, those types of collabs I have a problem with. If it's, like, something where the whole point is that it's, like, me and this person are doing a show, then that's what it is. And I've never understood people who, like, complain about something like that, because you don't have to watch all the videos.
Yeah.
Like, there's channels that I follow that I kind of understand if you're somebody who, like, obsessively watches every single thing in your subscription feed, but, like, man, that's you. That's just you. You know, like, that's your problem. You gotta get over that. You gotta make a lifestyle change, because that's weird. I got over that because of Prereq, because, like, I loved Prereq's reviews, and I hated their live streams, and it's just like, look, if I'm gonna sub this channel, I'm gonna have live streams in my feed every day, and just not click on them. And, it wasn't that hard. once I got used to it, it was just like, oh, there's a prereq video. Don't want to watch that, but I'll wait for their review. And you can tell by the branding and the title. So anyways, we ended up making a separate channel for the two of us called Corrupting Your Kids.
Oh, Corrupting Your Kids.
And
our baby.
The conceit of this channel was sort of that while you and I were like doing these videos together, maybe our unique chemistry could grow its own audience. Like, maybe there would be people who just wanted to watch you and I together who we could find outside of my audience by doing, like, unique content that was specific to that channel that had nothing to do with, like, the kind of stuff that I would do on my own.
Mm-hmm.
But we mostly just ended up doing, like, comfy casts and watch-alongs. Like, we had much bigger intentions for that channel. We had, like, we were
gonna do our body as a life hack.
Yeah.
Which,
in retrospect, seems like a terrible idea. Anyone who's listened to the 2 months review will know why that seems like a terrible idea. But we had a show idea called Our Body as a Life Hack, where we would, like, spend 2 weeks doing something like the Uberman sleep schedule, or like a keto diet, or different things like that. That was fucking weird. Oh, well, that is continuing to be fucking weird.
Emulators are cool.
But yeah, we would do something like that and make a video about the experience. But like, I never had a clear enough image in my head of how we would actually like chronicle our experience in a way that wasn't just talking to the camera.
We were gonna set up confessionals in the bathroom of our apartment. Remember that?
Yeah, I just don't know what we were gonna film outside of the confessionals.
I think it was just gonna be like us just losing our minds.
Yeah, like what do you film to convey that you are doing the Uberman sleep schedule? So like, because I could never really imagine it, because in my head it's just like a wacky reality show.
Yeah.
But how the fuck do you do a wacky reality show out of a vlog? Plus I'm a terrible vlogger, so like as in, like, I'm good at talking into a camera about an idea. I'm not good at breaking out a camera at random and capturing my life, which is mostly just in the house, you know?
We just had different ideas of what our life was going to be like. We thought we were just going to be doing, like, weird stunts all of the time.
Yeah, I guess so.
And I think I wasn't thinking realistically, like, when we first got together about our relationship and how, like, what I would be doing and what kind of things we'd be doing together and what YouTube was like.
Yeah, well, I think we had this mentality that, like, we would just do every fucking idea we had, but it's like, you can't do that many ideas at the same time. It's like, if we had put... So this is basically what happened with both... The reason I'm talking about this, why we're having this clarification, is not just to explain why there's a Let's Play on After Dark, but also why I've been posting a bunch of albums and mixtapes on After Dark after a long time of not doing that, and it's because... So I really got it in my head that I wanted to try to take every different thing I was doing seriously as its own venture. That, like, Digi and May content would be its own thing on this channel, Corrupting Your Kids. And we were going to do Let's Plays there. We never actually... Well, we did. We did the Bloodborne
Yeah,
one,
we did some Bloodborne, but we thought we lost them.
Yeah, and I might actually have all the So... We had... God, this is such a fucking sad story, and this is part of, I think, what happened with the subscriber downturn, and the Patreon downturn, because... Oh, God. So...
Downward spiral,
my major Patreon downturn happened during a period of 2 months in, what was it, like March and April, where there was not many videos coming out. And the fucked part about it is that it wasn't that I wasn't making videos, it's that they weren't coming out. Because what we did was we recorded like a fuck ton of Bloodborne all at once. Like, we recorded like 20 episodes, and we were going to have you edit them and then like make them come out once a day for a long period of time.
While we were trying to get the moves situated,
while we
were looking for places and when the move would be finalized, just to have something come out.
Right, so the idea was that these videos would come out by themselves while we were working through all this bullshit that we had to do for the move, and then we move and my hard drive that has all these episodes won't come on. And I can't figure out why. And it was just like, well, Like, and the thing is that over that course of time, those had been the main content coming out, and a lot of subscribers are really, or a lot of my patrons were really upset because they were like, we don't care about these Bloodborne Let's Plays, they're not that good, and this is all you're putting out. So it looks like this is all you're working on, you know? And meanwhile, I was trying to get how they marketed off the ground, and that ended up being a huge fucking catastrophe. So, like, I'm trying to work on that and the move, and we're releasing these Bloodborns. The Bloodborns aren't coming out anymore because the fucking hard drive seems to be dead. We tried to make another comfy cast, but we ended up recording like 30 minutes and then passing out, and then we never got back to it. And like, it was just, there was just so much going on all at once that Corrupting Your Kids completely fell by the wayside. And I forgot it even existed until like someone reminded me, and I was like, oh yeah, we made a side channel.
That's how it goes.
So then Digibro's Turntable was a channel that was like all going to be music analysis and my own music, and I was really active on it for a few months, and it just didn't grow. It just flat out didn't grow. And granted, I had not done much to promote it. Like, the channel could have probably grown a lot more if I had mentioned it more often and like made a big deal out of it, but I really wanted it to just develop its own audience of like music listeners, and I just couldn't seem to break that market. Like, I couldn't figure out where the hell are music listeners? How do I make them care? And so in the long run, both of these ventures were just like more work than they were worth. It's like, I'm not making profit off of this, and because the videos aren't coming out on After Dark, no one's fucking watching them. Like, and regardless of whether, like, let's say that the people who really care about like Digi and May content would go to Corrupting Your Kids. Most of them won't even know about it. And like, it doesn't even matter if it's the people who care versus the people who don't care. The fact of the matter is, a video on that channel is not going to get the hits a video on this channel gets, regardless of how many percentage of the audience cares. Like, it just won't happen.
Secret tip: when you're buying Pokeballs, like 3rd generation plus, buy 10 at a time so you get a Premier Ball thrown in.
Oh.
That's just some, you know.
I did not know that.
Yeah, always buy 10 at a time.
Okay. Good fucking... I'll take, so literally in all the games from 3rd gen onwards?
I think it's, I'm not sure if like the 3rd gen, like Ruby and Sapphire are like that, but I know like, Platinum onward, I think it's like that. But all the recent games are like that now.
Well, anyway, yeah, like, so basically in this new era where I came to the realization that like I'm not relying on trying to make all these different things be successful on their own, or on like trying to fucking capitalize on my niche audience. It's basically like this. The Digibro channel is for videos about anime that will have a broad appeal and people will care about. The After Dark channel is for anything else I'm involved with whatsoever. Fuck you, I don't care. Because part of this was also that the After Dark channel was kind of its own venture, that like people were following it because they wanted like this certain type of vlogs and these certain type of things, but it didn't like grow any further. Like it basically has been at 70K for a long time. And it's like 70K is basically how many people care about me as a cult of personality. And listen, I just listened to commenters and stuff a lot too much. Like, I listened to what people were saying as opposed to the hard numbers and the analytics and the facts, which were telling me that I should just be uploading everything to After Dark. And if you want to see the proof in the pudding, look at how Turntable, over 6 months of attempted growth, when I uploaded music videos there, got like 2.5k views. Posted the Sad Boy Anthem video on this channel and it had 10k in like a week. And I'm like, there you go. There is no reason to have the Turntable channel. Like, it's a huge failure. So, yeah, that's why we're here.
It just takes a whole lot to grow a channel now.
It does, and I guess it was difficult for me to fully understand that because I got really lucky with my original channel. Like, I created it during a period where everyone was growing really easily. And growing a channel today, it's more about consistency of uploads than it is about like having a big break the way it used to be.
Yeah, or even quality.
Yeah.
TVH.
It's really about like, can you put out a lot of videos about things that people care about, and that will grow you. And granted, like, that's not to say that that's all people will watch. People will watch whatever they like if they know about the channel.
Yeah, people want good videos, but like
it's just not going to grow you to make good videos or to make videos that like that only certain people will like, because the reason that title and thumbnail is all that matters, because whenever I say that, people get really cynical and sad, and like people are always like, wow, I can't believe it really is just a title and thumbnail. And I'm like, well, you got to think of it this way. If you're trying to get new viewers, they don't know anything about the video until they click on it. Like, there's no reason for them to assume that your video is going to be good. There's no reason for them to assume that you are interesting, and like, you know, they have to find out that you're interesting. And how are they going to find out if they're not going to click on the video? So, like, you just got to make it so they're already interested before they click. It has to be that the title and thumbnail get their attention and they think, wow, I want to know more, you know? Mm-hmm. And so, like, once you've got them, you've got them. But, like, and then, of course, certain people aren't going to like the content that they end up with. But, like, you just gotta not listen to what people say, and you gotta look at the facts, because people, I said this in the Failing as Fast as Possible video, and this is just a fucking marketing thing that anybody will tell you who studies marketing. People don't know what they want, they know what they like. People can tell you what they think they want you to do, but it's not accurate. If someone, like, and I knew this in the early days of me and you doing videos together, where at first people were telling me, like they would have complaints about like, you, like, oh, you shouldn't do videos with May, but then there were other people who were clearly interested in the things you had to say, and I'm like, okay, well, the division here is that you haven't done a lot of videos yet, and you're not a confident speaker yet. That is something that can only change by way of you making more videos, and once you did, a lot of those people came around, and they were like, oh, May's a lot better now, and I like listening to her talk now that she's had practice, and I'm like, yeah, no shit, like, that had to happen. You can't, like, that can't happen without, you know, it's like people wanted to hear you be good, but until you were good, they were like, oh, we want not this, you know? But it's like, you have to know better based on the empirical evidence, and I was able to find enough empirical evidence that we should continue, you know? I don't know. How do you feel about all this? How's this Pokemon game treating you?
The Pokemon game is I thought I knew what I was doing more than I was. Like, I know what is gonna happen. I know the plot and, like, where to go, but just not who to talk to. So I was kind of, like, running around, like, where do I go to get this battle that I'm fighting right now? And I knew I had to get Pokeballs. So, like, I went to go to the place that Pokeballs are, but you have to activate the Pokeballs being there. Yeah. By, you know. And it's just like, oh, I'm not really so much interested in what they're saying because I'm trying to, you know.
This game has a weirdly in media res approach. You know that phrase?
Yeah.
I don't know how popular that is. You just looked at me like, what do you think, I'm a fucking moron? Like, I don't hear people use that very much anymore. But yeah, like, it's interesting that it starts off with your Pokemon at, like, level 20-something, and, like, you're just kind of in battles right from the get-go, and, like, there's not a whole lot of establishing. Okay,
so here is the big, like, choice you have in the game. You can get Bayleaf, Croconaw, or Kulava. Who should I get?
Ooh.
You can get them later in the game, but, it's like they're not really useful unless, like, the first one you pick is, like, useful.
Who do you like the most?
I like them all, but I'm gonna pick Croconaw, I think.
Okay, I was gonna say Bayleaf, but
I always pick Bayleaf, but I like Croconaw. He's cool.
Croconaw.
Second gen is best gen. TBH.
Yeah, you're a big second gen person. Croconaw's ugly as sin, though. Let's be real.
It's not about if they're ugly or beautiful. It's about if they look like a motherfucking Pokemon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel ya. Shout out to the Digi and May Pokemon series. Anyways, sorry for talking about meta for so long. It's just that I've been meaning to make, like, a video, like a vlog.
Basically, you wanted to make a vlog, but you didn't want to vlog.
Yeah. I really hate making update videos because, like, first of all, they're gonna be the least viewed thing you make, no matter what.
Yeah.
I got lucky with the Digibro 8.0 one because I like gave it a stupid enough title that people actually watched it. But like, usually people don't watch the update video, and even the ones who do, like, first of all, the people who watch it will misinterpret what I mean by what I say anyways, because I won't even say misinterpret, I'll just say I'm bad at explaining myself. Like, whenever I explain what I'm going to be doing going forward, it sounds a lot more extreme than what the reality is, because it's usually more about a difference in mindset that I'm approaching to doing the exact same thing.
That
and then
texture's ugly as sin.
people will always say like, "Oh, you're just doing the same thing as before. What was the big change?" And I'm like, well, I didn't mean to imply that it would be a recognizable change, you know.
Just that there will be an air of change.
Yeah. Sometimes there is a
Expect
recognizable change, but things are always changing, so it's almost pointless to even talk about it. Like, that was the other thing. I felt like, do I even need to announce that I'm gonna, like, put things on this channel? People will get it when the things are just showing up on the channel. Like, there's a bunch of comments on the music videos that are like, RIP turntable, but it's like, those videos have more views than any fucking turntable video has. So, like, clearly most people just didn't even know that fucking channel existed, because the only thing I did to announce it was an update video, you know? So,
Because you were sort of hoping that it would grow organically.
yeah, I was just hoping that music fans would find it, because I didn't want to send my fans over there and then it just be the same people as After Dark.
The irony being the only way you'd be able to find your music videos, though, is if you were searching for Digibro videos.
Right. That's the thing. It's like, how do you put your stuff in the purview of these people? And like, I'm sure I could have gone out and found music communities and integrated myself and stuff like that. But then you run into the problem that, okay, basically, if you want to make content about whatever you want, you have two options. You can either find people who are just like you, or you can turn people into being just like you. Because people only want to watch, like, something that they care about. Like, they only want to participate in something that represents them as they are. So, like, you're basically always either converting people or just, like, matching up with people who are like you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, let's say that I have the opinion that K-On! Is the greatest anime of all time. There's two different ways I can go about presenting this. I can find the people who already think that and get them to watch the video, or I can convince the people who don't already think that to think that, and now they're on my side. And I took that route when I did it. And it worked, because I was very convincing, and granted, those videos didn't have like a massive amount of views, because it still is an unpopular opinion, at least on anime YouTube, but like, you know, I found both the people who already liked the show and the people who I could convert, and I framed it in a way that would convert people. Now, let's say that I have an opinion that no one else has, or I'm talking about something that no one cares about. Well, there is no way to just find a community that already agrees with me, and if I want to convert people, that means I have to find something that those people already care about and connect this thing to that, you know? So, like, for instance, if I wanted to say Clarence Clarity, he's not very known or popular. He's growing over time thanks to enough, you know, people spreading the word about him. But like, when that album had first come out, the Needle Drop made a video about it, and in his case, he is just so big that there are enough people who will watch whatever he puts out that he is guaranteed 40,000 views minimum. Like, that is the minimum you'll see on a Needle Drop video, and it's okay for him to only get that many views because he puts out a video every day. So even if he only makes 40k talking about some obscure album, he can then just... He made a video about fucking that stupid Kanye and Lil Pump single, I Love It. He made a video about that within like a couple hours of it coming out. His video has 700,000 views. His video commenting on it has 700,000 views. Because he knew it would be a huge deal, and if he made a reaction video, it was free views. Like, he probably put 5 minutes of effort into that video, literally, compared to the, you know, hours
Less than
that he
5 minutes, like 3.5 minutes.
Well, I mean, his reaction video is longer than the song itself, but, you know, it's... it's like, and the song's only 2 minutes long. But yeah, like, he knew it would be free views, but like, even if he talks about something extremely minor that nobody cares about, he's gonna get 40K. If I talk about something that literally no one cares about, and I don't do anything to make it like to tie it into things people care about, I can't get minimum 40K. I might get minimum 10K on the main channel, minimum 1K on a side channel, So like, because I don't have the power
What is your lowest viewed video on your main channel?
I think it's Cool Girl Games, Gianna Sisters, or Chantilly's, one of those two, which have like 2.5K and 4K respectively or something like that. Like, they got no views. And those were high effort videos, but games that nobody cares about and a stupid title. Nobody was excited about the idea of Cool Girl Games. So, yeah. But partly because it was not clear what the hell that means. Like, what does it mean to be a cool girl game?
It means it's a cool game. For a cool girl.
Yeah, it was just meant to be games that star girls.
There are
and
no girls
cool.
on the internet, so to make a video for girls.
My audience was like more women than men at the time.
Yeah, that doesn't mean they're girls though.
No, that's true. So, anyways, if I make a video about like something nobody cares about, I might have hopes. If I say, like, hey, Clarence Clarity is like Bjork, but better. And it's like, which is not, that was a meme, by the way. I just came up with the first thing that came to my head. But Bjork is a popular artist people care about. So if I make something that's like a statement about Bjork, it doesn't matter if the video has very little to do with Bjork. I've made a statement about Bjork, now people will click on it. But, like, I'm not a member of any music communities because I don't really agree with, like, a lot of things. Like, there's no... that I know of, there's no music community that I just like wholesale have similar taste to. There's no like music news media that I'm excited about. I didn't really want to have to talk about like current trends or anything. I just wanted to talk about the stuff I like in music. Now, that leaves me again with two options. Either tie the stuff I like into the trends or be trendy. It's like you can't not acknowledge what people care about and grow. You have to drag people. You have to always be taking people from the horde and dragging them over to your side. And that's always how I've done things. It's just like, it was difficult with music because I don't know as much. Like with anime, it's very easy to just like go to Mal and look at what is the most viewed anime and find a way to tie that into your shit, And then once you have the audience, again, you can make the video that only gets 40K views compared to your 100K views, but hey, that's 40,000 people who might get converted, and they might convert more people and, have the K-on effect that I had. But you have to start from some kind of baseline, and just frankly, building up a YouTube channel from nothing is so difficult right now that it was just like, this is not worth it. Now, granted, I am currently doing it again anyways with I Am Games, but that's because I Am Games is not a channel about me. It's like a collaborative channel with a lot of people, and video games are by far the easiest thing to grow and talk about and trace the popularity of.
It's already doing pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, the only difficulty with games is that it is a crowded market. So, like, if you're not saying something really distinctive, if you're not really being, like, someone who people can say, wow, this person's perspective is better than everybody else, or even if you have the same perspective as everybody else, if you can do it better or faster. And that's kind of what I was trying to prove with the Spider-Man video, is, like, nothing I was saying was incredibly unique or, like, a conclusion that nobody would have drawn on their own. I just wanted to say it really well and say it way faster than anybody else. Because the other reviews that are going to come out on day 4 are not going to be up to that par.
They're going to have mics that are cracking and some weird foreign guy talking about
hey
Spider-Man.
Guys, here's my review of Spider-Man 4 for the PS4. Or it's like an IGN review, and like those are going to get a shit ton of views, but nobody cares. Like, nobody respects them.
Nobody's invested,
Like, you're either in the IGN framework or you're not. Like, and there's plenty of people outside that. So, like, but meanwhile, someone like Super Bunny Hop or Errant Signal, or like someone who I can expect to do a better, more analytical take on it, is gonna take at least a week. So by getting a video out in 4 days and being kind of analytical. It's like, this is the niche, you know, is I can do it well and I can do it fast. And then once we've grown that channel, we'll have the opportunity to then go do the needle drop thing. Like, hey, this is only going to get 40K views, but that's a lot for a video about Legend of Dragoon, you know? So, shout out to, who is it, Jester Monocle, who was obsessed with Legend of Dragoon. Do you remember that during the live stream where that one dude just, like, would not shut up about Legend of Dragoon?
I remember that. I don't remember who it was, though.
I think it was Jester Monocle. Anyway, May, what's going on in your mind, in your life, as you play this Pokemon game?
Well, the reason I decided to do this was because I told my therapist that I'd have a video come out by Friday.
Yeah.
And I wasn't gonna write no script. TBH. I wanted to make a video about Haruhi Suzumiya and just about her particular character, and we were trying to rewatch the show, but, you know, Conrad over here had this new idea, and we've just been watching a lot of shows by
a certain studio.
Yeah, by one that shall not be named.
People figure it out just by looking at my Mal, but like, whatever.
So I've just been watching shows with him. I could watch it by myself, but
yeah. I've
also been reading a whole lot and like.
Yeah, you just read through a book, dude. Give us a fucking review of Pachinko. Because you are you've been in a position of sort of losing interest. Well, I won't say losing interest, because people always act like this is a zero-sum game, like it's all or nothing. Either you're into anime or you're not into anime.
Shit.
You've just been burned out on anime lately, we'll say, because we made the mistake of watching current shows for a little while, and don't do that, guys. Unless you're somebody who's completely content with current shows. If you're somebody who's in the mindset right now that you're like, wow, anime is bad, like, stop watching current anime, because it will make that happen to you. Just go watch some classics. Go watch some shit you haven't watched, because guaranteed there's some shit that's great you haven't seen yet. Like, no matter what, there's easily 150 things that I know are amazing that I haven't watched. I still haven't seen Anne of Green Gables, which everyone tells me is like god tier and that it would be my favorite anime. I still haven't seen, I'm trying to think of like an easy example I could give. I mean, I have that whole list of 70s and 80s anime movies that I want to watch that are like, I haven't even made it halfway through. You know, I haven't fucking finished Macross. After 15 years of trying to watch it, I still haven't finished it. Would love to do that. Would love to finish our rewatch of Eureka 7. I want to organize a group watch of it for the Diglets. But because we're probably going to do Utena, and like, I really want to do Eureka 7. Everybody voted for Utena, but like, I think I might do Eureka 7 first, because I want to talk about Eureka 7. This fucking shit. But by the way, yeah, that's a thing now. My patrons are now called the Diglets, and there's a forum. The forum hasn't really been publicly announced. It's just kind of, but it already has like 60 members because people in the Discord keep signing up for it.
Shout out to my digs.
Led by Big Dig. Big Dig is the man. He's not a rapper. He just fucks faces.
I'm not a rapper, I just fuck faces.
Oh my god, I forgot I was going to release Emotional Anime Raps 2 today on the channel. I mean, I released it on Bandcamp, but I haven't put together the video yet. Maybe that'll be out by the time this comes out. I have no idea. I don't know what order these are getting released in. This just has to be out by Friday.
Yeah.
So anyway, describe what is your problem you're having with anime at the moment? Exactly.
I mean, it's not a problem that just happens at a moment. Just sometimes I don't feel like watching anime. Like, I don't have the patience to sit through 22 minutes of like tropes that I know.
Right.
And have been like, you know.
I mean, it's good. It's good to be worldly and to not consume only one medium. The only reason I get so fixated on anime is that it's my job. And, like, it's really unfortunate. Because I'm not, like... I'm a bigger fan of anime than other mediums, but it's not like I only like anime. Like, I love video games. I love, well, I'm not, like, a huge movie guy, but there are certain movies... Like, certain I still haven't seen Isle of Dogs. Would love to see that. Mm-hmm. That's not an anime, you know? So, like, I understand, and there's a bunch of authors I want to check out and stuff, but, like, so would you say you're just in a phase where you're like, hey, I've watched too much anime back-to-back, it's time to fucking mix it up?
It's just, like, I am content to watch the amount that I watch with you to do your job.
Yeah.
And I have more fun watching a show with somebody else so I can talk about my feelings about something, and it's more fun for me for it to be kind of a social thing.
Yeah.
So, I really don't, like, want to watch more than I already am, because I feel like I'm watching
because it was like
enough.
You agreed to make a YouTube video sort of under the assumption you were going to make it about Haruhi, and then I guess you just kind of realized, I don't want to have to watch this by myself because I'm already watching way too much anime. Would you say that that's kind of how it was?
Something like that. It's just like when I want to talk about a show, it's usually I have this inspiration to binge watch something, and there just hasn't been the time to like binge watch it. So
well, instead we went to Barnes and Noble and you picked out a book called Pachinko.
This fucking team is shredding me.
And Pachinko was,
I might get wiped out.
How many Pokemon do you even have?
I'm trying, like, the Mischievous is like, you know, a shadow Pokemon. I only have this guy left.
Shadow Pokemon. It's a whole new genre of Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you might be fucked, dog.
I'm also confused.
Oh wait, you're the Croconaut.
Yeah.
Okay. I was starting to get really fucking lost.
Nah, I think I'll be okay. I don't care too much about my Pokemon's feelings, if you know what I mean.
So, I want a book review of Pachinko.
Pachinko by Lin Jing Ming or something like that.
It looked like a long ass book.
Yeah, it was almost 500 pages long.
It's like an epic. It's like a historical epic.
It's a book about this kind of social strata of Koreans who emigrated to Japan when Japan had taken control of Korea, and there wasn't like life wasn't great in Korea, so a lot of people emigrated, but in Japan they were discriminated against heavily, and it was just like the story of this one woman who ends up getting pregnant, and the father of her child is a Yakuza member, but she doesn't know this, but she finds out that he has a wife already, so she's kind of fucked. And then somebody who's staying at the boarding house with her family, which her family runs, agrees to marry her and bring her back to Japan with her brother. And he's a minister, so it talks a lot about like early Christianity in Japan and how they were kind of treated, and it just kind of talks about like basically from the 1920s up until like the late 80s. It just follows their family and talks about like what kind of struggles they faced and how some people found success in the pachinko business.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was pretty fascinating because I hadn't known a lot about the history of Koreans in Japan, and it's pretty like what they had to go through. It's pretty fucked. It's
kind of like the story of the Irish in America or the Chinese in America, right? Would you say? Like,
I think that a lot of groups were kind of oppressed for short periods of time, but I think the Koreans had to endure like a lot. Like, the Irish and the Italians and like all those groups, like they were discriminated against for short periods of time, like maybe like 20 years or so, when like their first wave was coming into the country. But like it's more similar towards like the blacks, I think.
Yeah, like just like insane. Well, I mean, they weren't literally slaves, but it was like the length of time that they've been discriminated against, because they're still not like, Japan and Korea still don't have like a perfect relationship or anything. Though at this point, Japanese and Korean cultures have permeated each other's, like, over the last decade, maybe 2 decades, like, you know, Japanese people are so into K-pop and K-dramas, and Koreans are so into anime and J-dramas that, like, there's gotta be a lot less contention at this point.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it's kind of, like, buried. Like, during the World War II, a lot of like women were taken from Korea to be like sex slaves for the Japanese soldiers, and that was like really fucked.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that just recently Japan like acknowledged it and apologized, but that was from like World War II. But the family in that book, the minister, because one of the people at his church refuses to participate in some kind of Shinto ceremony and to like bow to the emperor. He's thrown into jail, and everybody in the church is like thrown, like all the other ministers are thrown into jail, and he's like in jail for 2 years, and when he finally gets let out, like he's ready to die. Like they just like let him out to die basically, and it's pretty fucked, but you can just see like how the family progressed and endured all the struggle and stuff. But it like when you figure out that the father is like a Yakuza guy, it's like, holy shit, I was not expecting that.
Well, you spoiled it now for everybody, so.
I mean, it says on the back of the fucking book. You figure it out like a third of the way in, but.
But yeah, like, so it takes place from like the 30s through the 60s or something, right? Something like that.
It goes later than that. It like goes into the 80s, and the beginning of the book starts like the generation before, so it basically spans almost an entire century.
Jesus.
But
there was a bit you were talking about that interested me the most about like why it's called pachinko is that basically for Koreans in Japan, the only way that they could find like legitimate success was through the pachinko business, and that like basically every Korean had some kind of ties to pachinko in
I mean,
Japan.
for a long time they were like, they couldn't become doctors, they couldn't go to schools, they couldn't like people wouldn't hire them because they were Korean. And it's funny because like the pachinko industry like is one of the biggest industries in the country, and it's like pretty much run by foreigners.
Yeah. Oh boy. Isn't Noctowl part normal, but he resistant to psychic?
What?
Wait, Noctowl's like a psychic normal, isn't he? Or something like that. What is he?
He is normal flying.
Okay, well then he's resistant to psychic.
What?
Normal is resistant to psychic.
I don't know what you know about Pokemon, but it's not much, man.
Normal is resistant to psychic, isn't it?
No, it's not.
I thought Normal's resistant to psychic and weak to fighting.
No.
That's true in the card game.
It's
for
weak
sure.
to fighting, but...
Well,
Dude, the card game, like, clumps up all of the types into, like, one color.
That's true.
It's not...
Well, what are they resistant to?
To normal?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Normal has no resistances?
They can't be hit by ghost moves.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's because they're...
Yeah, because I think Ghost
psychic.
is considered psychic in Pokemon, the card game.
Yeah.
But...
Well, all these years,
I can
I've
understand
been
why you would
avoiding
think
using
that.
psychic
The
moves
card game,
on
like,
normal time.
was... It kind of screwed with, like, my conceptualization of...
Dude, it utterly okay, I didn't even learn about, like, half of the types until, like, Pokemon Sun and Moon. Like, again, growing up, all I did was just take the starter and destroy the game. So, like, I had never made, like, a full playthrough of a Pokemon game actually strategizing or, like, building a team until, like, X and Y. And when I was playing that game... I started to learn, but when I played X and Y, I was just concerned about catching every Pokemon. So, like, I would do a lot of just over-leveling guys and, like, using EXP share extensively, and it wasn't really about strategy so much as just, like, constantly fighting. It wasn't until Sun and Moon that I started, like, looking at power charts and being like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't know Poison type was distinct from this type. Like, you know, just, like, learning about what, just stuff that, like, it was like, oh, this explains why I've always had trouble with Koga's gym, because I just didn't know what...
You never had any of the Pokemon Prima guides? Because I had, like, one for every game.
No, not for... Weirdly, no. Even though I used a lot of strategy guides growing up, I never used the strategy guide for the Pokemon RPGs, because, again, I just literally destroy... Like, if you level up your fucking starter, like, it's you can beat every encounter in the game with just your starter Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like, I would always just...
That's kind of why I've lost interest in, like, the main series games, just because they're easy.
Well, you just gotta make your own
children.
challenge. You just gotta try to catch every Pokemon, and the game is insanely hard.
And even if you're not, like, doing it as a challenge run, you can still, like, be creative with how you play it. And
I mean, for me, like, it was a crazy thing, because on Pokemon Red, I had just used Bulbasaur from the start, and, like, I had a level 98 Venusaur at the end, right? And then with Silver, I had done the same thing my first run through, but then I decided to, like, challenge myself and try to not use the starter, and, like, I had made Noctowl, like, my main guy. Couldn't beat the third gym. Could not beat Whitney. Too hard. And
Whitney's hard per rollout.
Yeah. And it's because the only reason I'd been able to beat her before is that I just had an over-leveled Pokemon. Like, if he's strong enough to just tank the hits, then it's not difficult. But, like, you're meant to be using strategy. You're meant to be using, like, okay, well, what Pokemon can, you know, withstand this, even if they are at the same level. But I didn't understand that, so I would just get my ass kicked over and over again. And so I just gave up on, like, even attempting to do that. And, yeah, like I said, it wasn't until, like, the most recent generations that I started, like, actually learning how to strategize in a Pokemon game, which is why I'm terrible at Pokemon. Like, you may have noticed that several of my friends are really good at Pokemon. Like, Ben and Munchie, and I guess probably Nate as well. Like, they know Pokemon. But all it is research. You just gotta look into it.
It's not hard. All you really have to understand is, like, what kind of attacks go to which stat, and know the chart matchup, and look at the general stats of your Pokemon, and you have an idea of
There's
how
a
they're
lot
gonna
of shit
hit.
I didn't even know about, though, like stab and, like, all that shit, like, all the, like, hidden
But it
underground
says that
rules.
those things are brought up in the game.
Dude, you think I read any text as a kid?
That's the difference between you and I, because I read all of the text. I'm not reading it so much in this playthrough just because...
I mean, obviously I read it now, but as a kid, did not read any
I was
text.
obsessed with reading all the flavor text because I just wanted to know everything.
One of the biggest weaknesses, I think, of my upbringing is that me and Victor had it in our head that reading is gay, and therefore don't do it. Which is funny, because I read plenty anyways, but Victor was just basically illiterate. Like, he could not read until he was, like, 16. Like, and I want to say I'm exaggerating, but I'm almost not. Like, he had read some, like, you know, like Captain Underpants and, like, Bunnicula, like, kind of shit, but, like, nothing more advanced than that until he was 16. I would read him subtitles on the anime we watched, like, out loud. And so, like, he just really hated it because it would give him headaches. Like, I don't know if he was dyslexic or something. I don't know what the hell it was. But, like, he would get a headache if he tried to read. And so he hated reading. And he still doesn't really read all the time. But, like, eventually he got used to it, you know.
I couldn't imagine not loving to read. Like, I learned how to read when I was, like, either 3 or 4. And I'd prefer
I
to
learned how to read about that
than
age,
to
too.
listen to people talk.
But, like, me and Victor were big into video games. And,
Which
like,
is mostly text-based.
well, we were really bad at them. Because the games okay, you have to understand, we mostly played 2-player games.
Yeah.
2-player games have no text.
Yeah.
And, like, because a lot of my life is defined by the fact that I have 2 younger brothers who did everything with me. Because you and your sister tried to do opposite things. Like, you guys tried to not hang out all the time.
When we were growing up, it was different. I used to actually... They probably hated me because I used to, like, want to be their teacher. Like, I used to, like, have teaching lessons prepared for them.
That's hilarious. What age would you say you were at when you and your sister started to, like, diverge and, like, not hang out all the time?
I think when we moved, so probably, like, 9 or 10.
Okay, for me and Victor, it was never. We literally hung out together until you came into my life and Hope came into his, and we tore ourselves apart from each other. That was the moment that we stopped doing literally everything together. So, like, for me growing up, a lot of the experience, like the whole way through, is defined by like whatever I'm doing, Victor's also there. And like when it came to video games, okay, we one time rented Ocarina of Time and we could not get out of the starting village. Like we couldn't get to Deku Tree. Because what you have to do is you have to get a sword and a shield before the kid will let you pass. And we weren't reading any of the text, so we were just like running around, and like I had heard that this game was supposed to be like the greatest game of all time. Like Nintendo Power had given it their highest score out of anything. Like everyone talked about this game and how great it was. And I'm probably like 8 or 9 at the time. And so we rented it, and I just thought it sucked balls because I'm running around, I can't do anything, you can't even jump, and I'm like pressing the buttons, and like if you press the C stick buttons, it makes the camera like whip around in weird ways, and that was just nauseating. And I was like, what the fuck do I do? I don't understand what to do. And so yeah, the only reason I ended up getting into Ocarina was that my cousin Boyd rented it, and he played through it, and that was how I learned that a game could have a story, because like he when he played through, I was reading him the strategy guide. And, you know, we watched all the cutscenes. The cutscene when you turn into adult Link for the first time, like when you wake up after the, like, 7-year slumber and the sage talks to you, that cutscene's only, like, 5 minutes. I interpreted it as an hour. Like, that was how long it felt because I never read that much text in a game before. So it was just, like, it felt like this endless cutscene that was, like... And it was so much bigger than any story I'd ever consumed. Like, the idea that the world had, like, changed and that all this time had passed, it was, like, fucking insanely mind-blowing to me. And I was like, I fucking, like, after that experience, it was, like, life-changing. Like, I think I learned that stories could have plot after that, you know? Because most of what we played would be, like, we had Pokemon Stadium, and we would just play the mini games, you know, or like just fight each other, and we would play Diddy Kong Racing and race, or play like, you know, like we didn't play a lot of single player games because if one of us tried to play a single player game, the other one was gonna bitch about it. You know, lots of Super Smash Bros, even from the N64 days. So then like,
I probably played on the N64 Smash the most.
Yeah?
Of all the Smashes I've played. It's probably the one I'm best at, too.
Huh. I've definitely played Melee the most, by far. But yeah, like, we would play lots of two-player games until the GameCube era, and then, like, we became interested in single-player games, but, like, as I got older, I became more interested in just kind of, like, sitting back and reading the strategy guides to Victor, and, like, not so much playing the games myself. And it was usually either him or my cousin Boyd. It's like, one of them would play a game, and I would just, like, read them what to do and watch them play, because, like, you know, I didn't want to have to fight over who was going to play a game, and, like, I tend to want to get up and go do other things regularly, you know? So I kind of fell out with video games overall, but, like, you know, I still am more into, like, mechanically driven games, more so than like text-driven ones, I would say.
Are you games?
I am games, but nowadays when I play like an RPG, I will talk to literally everybody. Like when I play Pokemon now, I fucking read every TV screen, click every bookcase, talk to every person, because like to me, like learning every setting detail is usually more interesting than the actual story. Because the story of almost any fucking video game is save the world. Hey, there's a bad guy.
You gotta beat
the bad guy.
Yeah.
But like, I want to know all the like the specifics of like what's going on in this world. How do these people feel about what's going on? You know, like, and God, Pokemon Sun and Moon is a real letdown in that regard. Because like X and Y had a lot more flavor text, where like you could go around and like read TVs and they tell you things about the world. Sun and Moon was like the same 3 TV shows everywhere in the world, and it was just like, man, this Alolan region sure does not feel alive compared to, and like it's a shame because the X and Y games, the level design was terrible because it was just a like classic Pokemon game but in 3D, so everything felt weirdly small and looked retarded. Whereas Sun and Moon looked right, but like there just wasn't details the way there used to be. Like the main central story was better than usual, but like, you know, the that's kind of beside the point of an RPG to me. If you're playing an RPG, it should have like as much minutia as possible. How do you feel about RPGs? What's your favorite kind of RPG?
My favorite RPG is probably just traditional turn-based RPGs.
Yeah, but like, what do you prefer?
My favorite things are character development and being able to like switch between and guess more of the mechanisms in the game. Like different roles that characters have and like different like skill trees you can build and shit. I don't play a whole lot of games though.
Yeah, not anymore anyway. Was there ever a time you were like really into video games?
Yeah. But I was a kid, like the GameCube era. I played almost every GameCube game, but like the next generation of consoles, like my brother was always playing games, and we had one TV.
That's kind of what happened to me. It's like Victor became the games boy, and I was the, I mean, for me, it was just I got warped into the internet was a big part of it.
Yeah,
like,
same.
Once I got onto forums, then, like, video games weren't as interesting because, like, I think that a big difference between me and Victor is I don't think he felt the weight of being misunderstood as much as I did. I don't know. Because he and I were both, like, kind of loners, but I feel like Victor just, like, didn't care about, like Victor, I don't know. I don't know what he thought of people growing up. Maybe he can make a response to this, because I'm sure he'll watch this. So, Victor, if you're listening, please make a Vic and Hope explaining what your mindset was that made you so disinterested in, like, the internet. And I don't know if it was just that he hated reading, because that's a big part of it. Like, he saw what I was doing online as just a lot of reading, and he didn't understand what the appeal of that was. But, like, the appeal was that I, as somebody who didn't know how to talk to people in real life, could talk to people. And I don't know if maybe he just didn't conceive of people online as people, because it still seems like he doesn't. Like, he really does not value online. Victor has no online friends. Victor has never had an online friend before. Like, can you even conceive of that at this point in your life? Like, not having an online friend ever? Because for me, it's like, aside from you, who I met online, and, like, Tom, who I met online, all of my connections are from online. I never, like, when I finally made friends with people IRL, like, my best friend, Don-san, like, even though I met him in person, we communicated through the internet. Like, we met, and then I got his Yahoo Messenger, and that was the main way we talked to each other. So, like, to me, that's the only way to make friends, is through the internet. And I don't know if Victor just never saw that as, like, a valuable relationship, but, like, he didn't have many friends or, like, people to communicate with IRL. So, I don't know. He just didn't seem to value it at all. And that was, like,
there's some people
all I
who
cared
just,
about.
like, aren't as into the internet, I felt like that was my home.
Yeah, it was the only thing that... It's the only place that people would listen to me, because if I tried to talk to somebody about something I cared about in real life, they would blow me off. But I could go on the internet, and people would, at the very least, entertain the notion of what I was saying, or be talking about something. Like, it didn't even matter if they responded to me specifically, just the fact that there were people talking about the stuff I cared about is enough. Like, any friend I had at school, I'd be like, oh, like, yeah, I've been, like, because I watched Adult Swim. I didn't know anybody who watched Adult Swim when I was in school. Like, I did not know a single person.
Yeah, everybody was watching Disney Channel.
Or Nickelodeon or something. Like, well, we're talking, like, middle school was when Adult Swim was a big deal. And, like, I never found a single person who was watching any, like, when I would talk about Adult Swim, they'd be like, oh, Family Guy? And I'm like, no. Don't you watch the anime? Don't you watch the Saturday night shows? Oh, no. Like...
Robot Chicken?
Yeah, and I never liked those shows at all. Like, not until I was in, like, my late teens did I even, like, humor the actual Adult Swim shows, which is ironic, because I like a lot of them now. But, yeah, back then it was, like, the anime exclusively, and, so even though it was on TV, from my perspective, it was like, this is all super niche, weird shit that, like, if I go online, I can find people who talk about this. And now, the shit I like is so weird and niche that even online, you can't even find that many fucking people who talk about it. But that's what I've always loved about 4chan, is that no matter how obscure something is, there is someone else who likes it on 4chan. And that's the reason I will always go there, is because, like, there is nothing you can be into that is so obscure that you're the only one who likes it on 4chan, you know? So, it's always worth returning to. What's the weirdest thing you like?
The weirdest thing I like?
Yeah, in terms of, like, how few people like it. Like, the most obscure thing that you're... Guess Midori.
I'm thinking... Do you mean, like, when you say like, do you mean things that I would talk about online? Because, like, I'm certain the porn that I like is not that popular.
I mean, I think that there's... What I'm trying to talk about is not, like, the popularity in mass, but, like, okay, I think it's public knowledge that Devu is into the ADB...
He likes diapers.
The adult diaper baby lover, ADBL, is that what it's called? Community. And, like, even though that's obviously an insanely niche thing, like, in the grand scheme of reality, the community around it is, like, big. Because, like, even if there's only, like, 10 people making stuff for it, those people are going to make constant stuff, and anybody who's a fan of it knows about those 10 people, you know? Whereas there's some stuff, like, the reason I brought up Midori is that, like, you're the only person I've ever fucking seen talk about Midori. Ever. Like, no one talks about that movie. Because, like, it doesn't really have a specific... Now, granted, the original comic does, like, the comic it's based off of seems to be a part of, like, it's made by
culture.
A guy who's famous.
Yeah.
Like,
It's high art. It's appreciated by a lot of people who, like, appreciate anime, like, manga, like, specifically.
But for some reason, the anime is not seemingly as known.
I mean, it was made by one guy, and it's mainly the people that talk about it for the shock value that, like, oh, right. This is, like, the most intense thing ever animated, but, like, there isn't really a lot of discourse about it, but the movie was kind of, like, a cult hit. Like, people went en masse to see the film when it was airing, and it has a following. Like, there are people who talk about it online.
What do you think is the most obscure thing that that you're into?
I'm gonna say that I've been into, like, there's some, like, fetish shit that I, like, was on forums for, and they were, like, probably 20 people on the forum, and that was the largest forum for it.
Do you want to mention any, or are you gonna keep that one on the DL?
Mainly,
in
like,
case your dad happens to be
hashtag
watching?
human livestock kind of shit.
Human livestock.
That's the best way I can explain it.
I mean, I've got, like, images in my mind. I'm just gonna assume I know what it is, but I don't.
Or hypnotism.
Hypnotism's popular.
Yeah, but in that specific community, it was not. But I'd say there's definitely people who like everything, you know?
Yeah. Like I said, even if, as long as you're on 4chan, you can find somebody.
And even if nobody likes what you talk about, you can be pretentious.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen, like, I think I was the first... I'm gonna go out here on a limb. I'm gonna go on a crazy limb and say that I was the first American who ever became a huge fan of Shinsei Kamate-chan, the band.
Yeah.
And when the way I found out about them was they made the OP for the show Denpa Onna to Seishun Otoko. And at the time, they had 3 albums out because they put out 3 albums in the same year. Their first 3 albums, the first one came out in, like, March of 2010, and then they put out 2 albums on the same day, like, that September. And those are their 3 best albums. Like, everything from that point on is, like, vastly diminishing returns. And it's pretty obvious that all of that music came out of just the singer Noko being in, like, a really fucked state of mind at the time. Like, him going from 22 to 23, he was really depressed, really, like, suicidal, gender identity issues, just like screaming madness, but they blew up really quickly because like, you know, they got a lot of media attention for like their antics, and I think it changed his life so much that he couldn't tap into that anymore. And like they just kind of became like a generic version of themselves, as I like to say. So from like album 4 is still good, but a lot of it is like rehashes of old songs and shit. And that came out like the next year, and then from that point forward I haven't liked any of their music since. But literally like the day that episode 1 of Denpa Onna came out, I heard the OP and was like, this is fucking amazing, who made this? And then I went down the rabbit hole of, because the lead singer had uploaded like music videos for demo versions of like every song that they had, and all of them were on his channel, I just like was watching those all day and became a huge fan. And I wrote a blog post about it at the time. No one cared, because most people didn't even like that OP. Like, most people thought it was obnoxious and fucking grating, but I was like, this is the greatest OP of all time. So I was super into it. I got into the band, and the fact that the singer would do like male and female voices, but I found out it was the same guy, was like super fucking interesting to me, because I used to make music with male and female voices harmonizing. Like, I would always, granted my shit was like acapella Audacity songs, but I would always like harmonize male and female voices of myself, and it sounded kind of like the way he did music, so I was super into it. And then like all that existed in English about the band was, there's this one website that was like a Japanese music review site that had happened to cover, and he basically was like, hey, this is kind of interesting, it's kind of cool, and he had reviewed the 2 albums that came out at once, and that was the only thing I could find in English about it at all. But then slowly over time on Mew, I started seeing Sumane, which is their best album, like start cropping up in people's top 100 charts. And then I started seeing like discussion threads, and like eventually over this course of enough time it became like kind of a cult hit, and now people kind of know about it. And at some point someone finally uploaded the full album to YouTube, because it used to be that they would get taken down all the time because they were on like a major label. And like you could find the demo versions of all the songs, but if you tried to upload like an album version, it would always get taken down. But somehow somebody got it passed, and now it's up, and so it's like slowly been developing this following as like a cult favorite that will eventually probably be remembered as like one of the greatest albums of all time. But I'm just gonna say right now, I was first.
You were first?
Get off my land.
Is that a challenge?
Yes.
Would you say there's any YouTubers that you're a fan of that are like really small?
Yeah, Pantsu Party.
Oh shit, that might be the smallest fan community you're a part of.
I actually think I am a fan of even smaller YouTubers than
bet.
Pantsu Party, but I'm trying to think. Like, well, the thing is that most YouTubers that are that small, it's because they stopped. Like, if you keep making videos, you will inevitably grow. Like, you can't stay small forever. It's just a matter of how consistent you are, and like if you talk about anything popular, which if you're doing it for long enough, you probably will. I mean, there are some people who will like, you know, might make a video every week and stay frozen at 18k subs because what they talk about is super fucking obscure, but like, you will at least build a handful of subs, you know, like, nobody stays under like 5k if they're making regular videos, you know, because someone's gonna notice, unless you're like the new storyteller and you're just doing it out of like some insane autistic addiction to making content, you know.
Like you?
Yeah, except that my content is, you know, popular and not Thomas the Tank Engine stop motion videos. I should get into that market.
You should.
Though.
You could be.
That's up my alley. It's my speed.
Yeah.
Oh boy, YouTubers who are small who I love. Oh, this is not necessarily a small channel, but it's one I'm probably one of the biggest fans of and an early adopter of, which is Alex Kramer, the brother of Barry Kramer, who is the editor for Game Grumps. Because Alex Kramer only uploads one time a year, and it's on Barry's birthday to make him a birthday video. And they are the most wholesome videos on YouTube. The first one is a fucking masterpiece. They're all good, but the first one is like a classic. And usually Barry is also in the videos, but like, and I think the first one has like a pretty decent amount of views because Ego Raptor had shared it at the time. That's how I found out about it. But like, you know, I've kept up with the yearly. I want to say his birthday is like December 13th or something like that. It's sometime in December, and like every time it comes around, it's a surprise because I never have like memorized it or like I'm never anticipating it. It's just like, oh shit, it's Barry's birthday.
Is it Barry's birthday?
And then I don't know how to communicate to people how hype I am because like I'll post about it on Twitter or something, and people are just like, what is this? Like I don't understand it. I'm like, no, you have to be. Yeah. I've been watching these for 6 years now. Like, I get so excited to see this brother just make these loving song videos for his fucking brother.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
You're a fan of the bromance.
I am definitely a big... I used to be really into, like, bromance stories. Like, because I've always been really, like... I used to just be about my bros. It was like... You know, it used to be just me and Victor versus the world, you know, and then it was like me and my bros versus the world. But the funny thing is that I think and this is going to sound harsh, and I don't mean it this way, because I understand that my attitude is responsible for this, but like in my mind, I felt very strongly about all of my friends, that they were like the coolest people in the world, and that like I like cared about them more than everybody, and I rarely had the sense that they felt that intensely about me. But I think it's partly just because, like...
I didn't mean to do that.
Because, like, I might have felt that way, but I didn't engage with them very strongly. And it's because, in my mind, if you even talk to me for, like, 5 minutes out of the day, you must be one of my best friends. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is sort of something that me and Munchie had a funny, like, disagreement about, I guess. Because, so, at RadCon 3... Munchie had this friendship chart that he had of like how close of friends he was with everybody in the PCP, and like he after each RadCon he would like update it and like say like what friendship level they're at now, and like he had like Ben Saint and him were like super tight because they talk all the time, and like he had Hippo, I think it's pretty tight. I don't remember. He was pretty tight with several people, and I was like probably the like 4th or 5th highest ranked, and my score was pretty middling. It was like I was like half as good of friends as Ben. And this was like, it was shocking to me because in my mind, Munchie is like one of the people I'm closest to in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, but we barely talk. And I was like, yeah, but I talk to you more than most people. Because from his perspective, he talks to people all the time. He's extremely social. He's always, like, in calls. He's always, like, doing things with people, organizing shit. And I am, like, retreat into my own room for, like, days on end and then pop out and go to IHOP with someone once. And I'm like, we're best pals, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, most of my friends had closer friends than I was to them. You know, like, most of them had somebody else they considered their best friend, even if I considered them my best friend.
Relatable.
And, like, even among, like, the PCP, it's always been that way. That, like I always called Endless Jess my best friend, but he doesn't consider anybody on the internet his best. Like, he has really close friends he knows in real life, you know? But I was always like, you know, for however little I talked to him, he was my best friend, you know? But, like, so I was always big into, like, stuff like, you've never seen, Pineapple Express, have you?
No, I haven't seen it.
That's, like, the ultimate bromance movie, in my mind. Nothing else quite compares to it. Mostly for the ending, because it ends with, like, the main characters, after having done this, like, crazy-ass adventure, they got involved in all this, like drug dealing and shit. They, after all is said and done, it's just the 3 main characters, like, sitting in a Denny's just talking about how cool what just happened was. And it was, like, the most relatable thing in the world to me, because that's, like, most of what bromance is you do a cool thing, and then you never shut up about how you did that cool thing together.
Yeah.
But it's funny because now I don't hang out with any bros at all because I hang out with you. And now I'm all about romance
your estrogen
stories.
level has risen.
Yes, my estrogen is through the roof. I am now a total
Low
soy boy
sperm
cuck.
count.
Yeah.
You're the problem.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Do you think I have a low sperm count?
Considering how much Mountain Dew you drink, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that you've experienced any evidence to that?
I mean, you can't, like, you wouldn't be able to tell unless you tested.
Oh yeah.
Like, how would you be able to tell?
I don't know. If you like, is there like, can you come and there not be sperm in it?
Yeah.
Oh well. Is that what shooting blanks is? I thought that was just you, like, you feel like
No,
you're coming,
that's
but nothing
not.
comes out.
I mean, shooting blanks is that you're infertile and there's no like actual like semen in your you know.
Ejaculate.
But
I guess we'll find out when we start having babies.
we start trying and then
We'll
we're
figure
like,
out how
why is
high.
this so hard? And we go to the doctor and they're like, oh yeah, you're impotent.
You have a narrow urethra. You ever see, in King of the Hill, he has a narrow urethra.
Yeah. Oh boy.
So far this game has seemingly just been like the same battle 1,000 times.
Oh, it's because I keep killing Quagsire.
Oh, so have you just been losing?
No, I just have been killing the shadow Pokemon that I want to catch.
Oh, do you catch it from other trainers?
Yeah. Have
What
you
the
not
fuck?
been watching the game?
I was really confused how you were getting Pokemon. I was like, it seems like you've only done trainer battles. How the fuck are you getting Pokemon?
The point of the game is that you are a thief who used to be in this criminal organization. That guy's not in the organization, but like the Mirror Bee organization. And then you ran away and you took the snag machine. So now you can catch Pokemon for good. You know, you can be a good guy.
Okay, so you're stealing back Pokemon, basically. Except that they're not stolen Pokemon, they're just, like, shadow.
No, they're stolen Pokemon.
Okay, what makes them shadow?
They're, like... they, like, did, like, weird experiments on them. And they, like, are more powerful. But you're just taking them back. Like, in this town, if you win a battle, you, like, get one. Like, if you go to the Pokemon tournament and you win, you receive a shadow Pokemon as your gift. And that's why there's so many. Like, all the trainers in the square that I'm in right now all have a shadow Pokemon. Like, all these guys. And you just have to get
So
them
is this,
all.
like, a level? Because I just thought you were in town.
I am in a town.
Okay. But you fight people in town.
Yeah.
Like, this is confusing as an RPG. Like... I'm used to, you go to town and you talk to people and buy items and shit, and then you go to a dungeon and you fight.
Well, this is Pokemon, so there's
Right.
no dungeon.
Well, in Pokemon you don't fight in the towns, you fight in the fields that connect the towns. But this game seems like there's just a map between towns, like is the whole game towns?
Yeah.
That is fucking weird. I can't think of any game I've played
Because you're
where
not
the whole
catching
game is
wild
towns.
Pokemon. You're trying to defeat the
Right.
evil organization, and they're all people who are in
Whoa,
towns.
that is such a like weird vibe for a video game to have it all take place in towns. Like, can you think of any game other than this one that's all in towns? I mean, I guess like Final Fantasy 13. That's all in a town, right?
No?
Isn't it all in like a flying town?
It's like in a flying world, but you like go into like the netherworld
I see.
for part of it. Like it's not all in a town. You
Dude,
see?
the most like shocked I ever was playing a video game. This is not true, but it's up there. Final Fantasy VII. It's very famous for the big spoiler that everybody knows about Aeris. What I didn't know is that the game is like a full fucking world. Like I had always thought it just took place in Midgar. Because like all the advertising, all anybody says about it is like, oh yeah, it's in this fucking like cyber, I don't know, would you call it steampunk or cyberpunk? I don't
Probably
even know.
more like a
Somewhere
cyber.
between them, I guess.
Cybery steampunk.
Because, like, the technology is, like, less advanced than current technology, but it looks like a cyberpunk world. In any case, it's, like, everything you see is about this city, and that city is only, like, the first 7 hours of a 50-hour game. Like, you leave the city, and then you're just on an adventure, and I was like, oh, I had no fucking idea. And I was kind of let down, because I really loved the aesthetic of that place, and then, like, finding out it was just, like, a Final Fantasy world, I was like, oh, I see. But, you know, it was still cool.
Yeah.
It was big shock.
Bigu shaku.
Big shock. I want to play more RPGs. I started playing Phantasy Star 4, and that was kind of cool.
Yeah, how's that been going?
I mean, I played it, you saw how much I've played so far. I played like 2.5 hours and then got sidetracked. Mostly because we were watching Tom play Spider-Man for 2 whole days.
Oh yeah, that definitely was a change of pace.
And then I spent the next 2 days making videos about Spider-Man. If anybody doesn't know, by the way, that I have a gaming channel. I should have advertised this at the start of the video instead of an hour and a half in, but
Hey man, if you're still listening to this, then, you know, go to I Am Games, because it's a better use of your time.
I don't know if that's true. So...
Unless you really like Pokemon Colosseum.
Me and Tom started up a gaming channel called I Am Games. It's not going to remain solely me and Tom, but we finally put out our first proper analysis video, because the funny thing is we've been doing, I guess, kind of like an advertising experiment with I Am Games, like leading up to its actual launch, because we had the conception like towards the start of August, and I was like, or maybe even before that, and it began with a t-shirt where I was like, let's make a channel called, like, we were trying to think of a name for a gaming channel. And I was like, what if we made a channel where you play the game and I review it, so that way I don't have to play the game? And we were trying to think of a name, and I was like, what if it was just I Am Games? And then I was like, that would be a good t-shirt. Then we made the t-shirt, and we sold a bunch of t-shirts on the basis of a tweet.
Yes.
And that was exciting. And then we were like, all right, let's start doing live streams, and we'll just, like, you know, we'll live stream whatever game we plan to play, then we'll play it, and then, like, once we have a proper video out, I'll start really advertising the channel. But, like, let's see how much attention we can get just by live streaming and promoting the shirt. And, like, only using Twitter. And, like, because I already had a Twitch channel with, like, a pretty decent amount of subscribers, like, I just changed my Twitch channel to I Am Games, so we had, like, an embedded audience from the beginning.
Yeah.
So, like, between the baked-in audience of the Twitch, the popularity of the shirts, and the Twitter, like, we got a pretty decent, like, groundswell, to the point that the channel itself had, like, 800 subscribers when there was literally nothing on it. Except for, like, if you went to the playlist tab, you can watch the live stream recordings. But, like, yeah, it was pretty fucking funny to see, like, how far we could take it. And it took a whole month, because I ended up doing the whole August videos thing.
And there
like,
was no time to play games.
Yeah, and we ended up switching what game we were going to do several times. Because at first we were like, let's do a Fable rundown, and we'll, like, play all the Fable games, because people still care about those, and no one's done, like, a super in-depth analysis series. But then I came to the realization that, like, because I Am Games is meant to be, like, a profit-driven venture, it should be about, like, super relevant stuff. So then we were going to do Red Dead Redemption, so we could talk about that before the second game came out. And then we hated it. And then it was like Spider-Man. Tom just kind of hit me with Spider-Man all at once, because he was just like, hey, by the way, Spider-Man's coming out in 2 days, and I fully intend on buying it. And that's going to be a big deal, so why don't we do that? And I was just like, oh, like,
you're right.
Yeah, this is the obvious first thing to do.
Yeah.
Especially in... It was kind of like all the planets lined up perfectly, because it was like the game came out in a timely fashion, we got it pretty quick, and ironically, this worked out in our favor in a weird way, almost like it was destiny. I'm just gonna blame destiny, because I always do. Because the day the game actually came out, I got a stomach virus and was in bed all day dying and having weird hallucinations. Tom, who, you know, was like waiting around for me, and then he basically got sick of waiting and just decided to try playing the game. He ends up playing it for like probably 5 or 6 hours that night, And so he, like, you know, got reasonably good at it, learned the controls, like, learned what he liked and didn't like about it. So that way, the next day when we started playing it, it was like we had a pretty good grasp on it. And, like, I had watched him play for about an hour the night before. So, like, we had a pretty good sense of how we felt about the game going in, which helped in the long run because it made playing through it again easier, and it meant that, like, we didn't have to make assumptions about it. Like, we knew what it was going into the live streams. So it worked out really well, and then we just did it in 2 sittings, basically. Like, we just went through the whole fucking thing as fast as possible so we could be, like, the first people to have a video out, and we were. And then, like, we fucking, I mean, not the first people to have a video about the game out. There was like hundreds, which was also to my benefit because the game was so popular that any footage I needed was really easy to find on YouTube. Because the footage that we had from our streams ended up being kind of shit looking, so I tried to like find other people's footage to fill in some of the blanks. Granted, still, I was only able to make like a 720p video, so in the future we're going to try to capture like super high quality shit because gamers really care about quality. Like, gamers care about video quality way the fuck more than anime fans do. Yeah. So yeah, we're definitely going to try to work that out, but...
Because gamers actually pay for their products.
Yeah, that's probably exactly why, now that you mention it. And that might be a lot of the cultural difference. Is that that they have to fucking pay for it, so they care a lot more about like consumer reviews and advocacy and stuff. But anyways, so it also worked out perfectly because we managed to make 2 different videos, and like, I don't know, it was just really cool. I felt like it was the perfect way to launch the channel, and I'm really glad we didn't launch it with like Fable or Red Dead because Spider-Man was like, it was the perfect type of game where there was just enough to say about it. Like, just enough to say that you could make a couple of okay videos, like, and that would be enough. Like, there's not so much depth to the game that there needs to be, like, a 45-minute analysis video. And there's also not so little to say about it that it didn't deserve to be talked about at all.
Yeah.
So it was like, this is the ideal starting game. And then from there, we can, like, sort of look at what people think about the channel and what they want and... you know, move forward with some better ideas about, like, I shouldn't say what they want, what they like. Again, never listen to what people say they want. Listen to what they like. Because it doesn't matter. If there's stuff they don't like, then it's not about just correcting course based on, like, you should listen to what people don't like, but don't just correct it to do the opposite. Because, again, they don't know what they want. They just know what they like. So if they say, like, oh, I liked this element, but not this element, then, you know, consider how to make that element something that they will like, as opposed to just removing that element and doing the opposite, because the opposite's not necessarily what they want either, and removal's not necessarily what they want either. It might just be that they want it better, you know, or they want... Like, if I put something in a video, it means I wanted it there, which means that there is demand, but it just means that I didn't do it right. I didn't do it in a way that they would want it the way I wanted it. So it's about how do I make them want it the way I want it, you know? Or like, and usually if there's like the few criticisms that video did get of the first Spider-Man video were like ones I agreed with, you know, where it was like, yeah, I already knew this was a problem, but like, it's just a matter of choosing this, like, even though it's a perfect starter video, that does not make it a perfect video. You know, it's like a perfect first video on the channel, but like in terms of something that's going to knock people's socks off, it needs to be a different game and it needs to be approached differently, you know? But, anywho, I've been talking about my shit for a while. You've been reading Berserk.
Yeah, about 230 chapters in. I put it on hiatus because I was reading an actual book.
Yeah. What was better?
What do you mean, what is better?
Between Pachinko and Berserk.
Obviously, Berserk is, like, a work of art.
Yeah.
Berserk deserves a fucking Disney adaptation.
I can't even imagine, can you... First of all, let me just say, imagine how fucking amazing it would be if Disney, like, sincerely adapted Berserk. And then I have to say, imagine how fucking horrible it would be if Disney adapted Berserk.
Yeah, they made it like a Disney Channel TV show.
Oh, God.
And Puck was like the main character.
What's your favorite, who's your favorite character in Berserk?
I really like Lady Farnes because she's into that BDSM.
Yeah.
And she's fucking hot.
Is she your overall favorite?
I also really like Guts.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard.
He's the black fucking swordsman, dude.
Guts is the god.
What's your favorite part so far? Like, what's your favorite bit? I mean, you're at... First of all, what arc are you in? I mean, we'll just assume you're gonna get caught up.
It was like in between arcs. Like, what just happened? They were just in the one of the trolls, and Farnes like just asked Shergay if she would teach her magic. And that's like the last thing I remember happening.
I know where you're at. Probably like volume 23 or so.
Something like that. Is this gonna kill her instantly again? I'll be sad if it does.
You were telling me about how like a lot of what resonates with you in Berserk is just like the strength of like compositions and the ways that like a new chapter will start by like showing what happened at the end of the previous chapter
and
from
a completely different like perspective and angle, and it just like the world is so lived in and like it's crazy. It's like it's an epic.
Yeah, it's like the most deserving classic, I guess, because like in anime, I think the reason that like anime struggles to have something like that is that there's no like purely auteur anime, you know. Like I think that when you've got somebody who's got a singular vision, they can just realize it so much more clearly than like. And I know there are some people who like view it as like, oh, it's getting diluted. I don't think it's so much that collaborating with other people dilutes a vision as that when you have to feed more mouths, it means that you have to make it more broadly appealing.
And when you are on any sort of a time crunch.
Yeah. Like, I think that ideally a collaborative work should be always better than something that a guy made by himself, because it's just two heads are better than one, but like if you have two mouths to feed, you have to make twice as much money, and that means it has to be twice as appealing. So like inevitably collaborative works end up having to make more concessions, but I really don't think it's vision that is being conceded. I think, well, I mean it is, but it's not it's not an individual. It's not like, oh, this guy is a genius and everyone else was dragging him down. It's like everyone is dragging each other down by virtue of we had to make more money, you know?
Yeah.
Which is really unfortunate, because I do think that we've never had, like, well, I'm not gonna say we've never had this, but, like, certainly in the realm of, like, anime versus manga, with Berserk, you've got that feeling that it's both beloved because everyone appreciates that it's good, and also because like as an individual work it is legitimately like beautifully crafted, and like it you know, Miura now has the time to just spend as long as he wants on a chapter and make it as good as he wants it to be, you know. And there's nothing holding him back from doing that, and I don't think there's ever been like a TV show that has that ability, you know, where like you can just
that defeats it being a TV show, because like when it's a TV show, it is no longer just like a pleasure passion project. It's now a commercial.
But that's unfortunate. Like there's how great would it be if like if there was a TV show that was just so good that people were willing to give it that allowance of like, hey, we'll let you spend as long as you want. And granted, there have been OVAs that are kind of like that. Like Giant Robo is kind of infamous for the fact that it took the entire 90s to make. Like it's 7 episodes, and there was a 2-year gap between episodes 6 and 7 because he was like they were just trying to make it perfect. And like it's directed by Yasuhiro Imagawa, and like a lot of it is his vision, but like, you know, it's the whole team's effort that went into it, and like they all were dedicated to making it great. And but like it also made it a huge financial strain, and like, you know, and the fans complained about it for 2 years, like when the fuck are we getting the ending? But
Never.
You know, it's just nice to know that something like that even happened. That, like, they really did just say, hey, we're gonna fucking take however long it takes to make this perfect.
It's about the art.
And that's why it's so fucking, like, now that it all exists, now that we're divorced from the time where we had to wait 2 years, it's fucking considered a complete classic. Like, people worship Giant Robo. It's like, it's one of those that, like, it's never been massively popular, but the people who love it all are like, this is my favorite anime of all time, and I'll take this to the grave, you know? It's like, Jackie Chan said this, and it was talked about, and if you've seen the Every Frame of Painting video on Jackie Chan, he uses this clip where he talks about how, like, American film producers always will put him on a tight schedule, and he's like, we just end up using, like, effects and stuff instead of, like, making a perfect fight scene, because, like, in China, they'll just let you do it until you get it right. Like, they'll spend whatever money it takes because they understand that it's a legacy piece. The movie will exist forever. It's not about how fast you can turn around a profit. It's about this film will stand the test of time and people will return to it forever, and you'll eventually make a profit, you know? But, like, only if you make it that good. If you make it something that's a popcorn
Are there a
film.
lot of, like, classic Chinese movies?
Jackie Chan has a lot. Jackie Chan has movies that people fucking still return to 30 years later.
Yeah, I'm not talking about movies that Jackie Chan is in. I'm just talking about, like, films from China that are considered legacy pieces, like, worldwide.
I don't know if there's a lot that weren't made by Jackie Chan.
Because, like, I understand how they respect him as just, like, a fucking kung fu genius, and, like, he is a personality who will just always be famous.
Right.
But, like, I mean,
like, there's a lot of Chinese, like, kung fu movies that are pretty famous, like the Ip Man films from recent years. And there's also, anything by, what's his fucking name? There's one, Chinese director who's, like, really beloved in, like, the art film circles. I can't fucking remember his name. I'm sure there's tons of, like, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure
Chinese
too. I just
films.
haven't seen a lot of Chinese movies.
Yeah. Oh, God, what the fuck is his name? It's not Wong Kar-wai.
Wasn't there one movie you showed me that was with, like, the landlady who...
Oh,
like,
are you talking
beat
about
people up
Kung
and
Fu
stuff?
Hustle?
Yeah.
That's a great fucking movie. We didn't end up finishing that. We were watching it while we were baked, and we got tired, I think, like an hour in.
Yeah.
And fucking didn't
I
finish
just get
it.
tired all the time. Sorry.
Well, I mean, the way that we used to do things most of the time is we would get high all day and night and watch shit, and then at some point, whatever the last thing we're watching is probably getting passed out through. Because we basically just watched stuff until we couldn't do it anymore. And so, like... And it's weird because by that point in the night, we're fucking baked off our ass and half awake, so, like, everything's kind of a dream. And so lately I keep remembering, like stuff that we threw on and completely forgot about.
Yeah.
Like, we just finally watched all of Dokoida, and, like, we had watched the first episode of that at some point, but I literally forgot that I'd showed it to you.
I watched the first episode again, and, like, I vaguely remember the outlines of it. Like,
yeah, it was, like... Again, we were pretty baked, and it was, like, probably 4 a.m., and we thought we were awake enough for one more episode, and we weren't, kind of thing, you know? Like, that would happen a lot. There's a litany of half-finished movies that fell under that curse.
Litany is a good word for it.
Yeah. So, I feel like I've been... living in a deja vu circle for an hour. Is this all this game is?
No, it's just this particular part of the game is there's the square of trainers and you're supposed to get all the shadow Pokemon from them. It's just a place to catch the
It's
guys.
amazing that this early in the game they would put in something like this time.
I also fucked up a bunch of times and had to reface the trainers because I'm kind of like, you know, I'm not paying too much attention to what I'm doing, and also there's not a lot of pressure on you because you could just go back and fight these trainers again and again until you get these guys. I don't think it's like that for, like, any of the other Shadow Pokemon. But this is kind of just like the tutorial stage where you learn, like, how to battle with the Shadow Pokemon, because they'll often just jump into hyper mode and not obey you, and what you're supposed to do when that happens, and how you can kind of, like, turn the tide in your favor and get familiar with your team and, like, figure out the kind of strategies you want to use. But it isn't that exciting. I just think that this girl's hot. We're fighting.
Oh, the red girl?
Yeah.
She, I can't see her up close, but she looks pretty okay from this distance. Let's get that up close shot. She's alright.
None of the trainers are really hot.
No,
but
the art style of the game is kind of unattractive in itself.
I just like her leopard print hat.
It's really funny how transparently this game is supposed to be Pokemon for teens. Like, everything's edgy, all the Pokemon are like, start from like level 30 or like stage 2, like, you know, it's all like hip kids who are like, your main character's kind of an anti-hero, and it's just like, you couldn't have been more on the nose if you tried. Like, this is just Pokemon for teenagers, except like in the most cynical, like as understood by a fucking corporate executive way possible, you know? Like, Pokemon for teenagers if you've never talked to a teenager who likes Pokemon. Like, and everything's 2-on-2 battles, so it's like a little bit more strategy, like it takes slight
That's
thought,
the worst
you know?
part, that everything is a 2-on-2 battle.
Yeah. It's just, it feels like someone making the most misguided attempt at making Pokemon for teens by just doing what sounds obvious on paper and has had no further consideration put into it, you know? Like, it's just Pokemon aged up. Like,
Alright,
like
if
if you tried to imagine what somebody would be like when they were older, but imagining that they just became older as opposed to like having experiences over a course of time. You know?
So we've been playing this game for 2 hours.
Yeah, you want to stop this show?
I'm good.
Because I'm pretty
really
out of things to talk about. All right. I hope you all enjoyed the first episode. Do you think you want to do more of these?
Yeah.
All right.
I want to get further in this game. Like, this part is mindless because I've played it like 6 times.
Oh, I see. Yeah, well, we're gonna try to fucking play through Pokemon Colosseum, regardless of if it is good or bad, or if it makes us want to kill ourselves. And we'll come up with stuff to talk about next time that's not me meta complaining about my channel history, but...
I think it was important for you to put the update video in this
And
this
we had
video.
lots of other conversations.
Yeah,
I feel pretty good
fun.
about it. Let us know what you think in the comments, and I won't read them.
Subscribe to my butthole.
Hey!